This is a thesis presentation, Introduction and Methodology. Our research is entitled Sustenance and Cultural Preservation of Pakde in Loo, Buguias, Benguet. So, we know that culture is rooted with people. It is a symbol of identity. This has developed and shaped people to what they are today. In this research, we have identified one culture from Benguet. This is called Pakde. Pakde usually lasts a day, where the community is closed off to outsiders, and an extra 5 days where no person is allowed to leave home and to practice abstinence. The ritual is done as a prayer to the gods and spirits for a bountiful harvest, good health, and overall prosperity. With that, a podong will be left just outside the community, as shown on the screen. Like all cultures, Pakde is facing a threat of eradication due to modernization and entry of Christianity. In this research, the researchers aims to explore ways on how to preserve the ritual. The researchers has been conducted at Loo Buguias Benguet. The locals have practiced Pakde in response to the COVID-19 pandemic just recently. And also, the researchers have chosen the best individuals as the respondents for the reason that they have experienced and knowledge on the ritual. The researchers will be organizing the answers and the respondents, provided with video or audio, if any. The data has been analyzed and interviewed via codes and themes. All data gathered has been treated qualitatively.
Moving on to the results and discussion, this chapter presents the analysis and interpretation of the results that the researchers have gathered through the process of conducting individual and group interviews on the threats and the sustenance of a ritual called Pakde in Loo Buguias Benguet. It is divided into two sections, mainly the challenges faced by the Pakde ritual and the approaches done to address these challenges. With the challenges faced by the Pakde ritual, the changing society affects various aspects of a community or the society as a whole. And one of the affected ones is the cultural beliefs established by the past generations, by our elders, that were purposely created to support and protect the community. However, at present, they tend to become a story of the past as new beliefs and practices start to proliferate or emerge in the modern setting. Like what they say, change is constant and inevitable. Our material and non material cultures are being challenged with its continuity and longevity, and this concerns us all as sons and daughters of this land. The first item in the results is the decreasing population of the knowledgeable elders. We found out in our study that one major factor that affects the practice of Pakde is the decreasing population of the knowledgeable elders, or the native priests, the prayer leaders. They played an important role in passing stories of the past through oral communication or narrative storytelling. They contributed to the discovery of old beliefs and rituals performed in the past that had shaped the society in the present. The death of the elders, specifically the men who witnessed and performed the indigenous ritual, affects its preservation. Well, basically, without their guide and knowledge systems, this practice lost its way to the hearts of the younger generation. Our elders were key individuals to the individual or like actual demonstration of it. And now, having only few of them in that place leads to hopelessness, that sense of hopelessness. Even some of the remaining elders chose to turn their backs away from this practice, which unfortunately that's the case. And some of the respondents or informants mentioned that ngay magaot nanatoy din nanakay, which means that the elders are already gone and they're not able to continue it anymore. Second item is the influence of Christianity. Most of the interviewees mentioned the involvement and engagement of the community members to various religious groups and sects and have made a great impact that changed most of their beliefs and practices. Several groups were able to reach the residents and taught new beliefs, which became the major factor in why some of the residents of Loo gradually stopped the practice. And instead of going to the Pakdaan, or the place where they used to conduct the ritual in the mountains, or the duntog in local terms, they go to church. They believe that the new way of believing in God is the right thing, and Some even say that these practices are linked to evil, so it's scary to still continue it as they are being guided by the religious beliefs they hold on to. Additionally, church doctrines are well acknowledged and followed by the majority. One informant stated that the Roman Catholic has a huge influence, including other sects such as Lutheran, Baptist, Iglesia Ni Cristo, and Bethel, among many others. Next is the lack of interest among the younger generations. The community members lack interest in the continuing of practice due to the very strict taboos of the ritual set by the elders. And in learning the ritual procedures, it's not really easy for the members of the community because of its rules. They practice the inayan or panillo beliefs, which indicate taboo behaviors in learning the ritual procedures. Inayan is a guiding value wherein one should avoid violating morals and rules for him or her not to face consequences later on. Aside from that, it was found out that that their attention is redirected or diverted into many other things in their daily lives, like technology and even having an education at school, in formal institutions. It's also due to the low level of awareness, of course, and less engagement to the cultural practices. They were not taught on how and what to do because they're told that they won't understand it anyway. And this actually resulted to a negative effect on the practice. Also, if the ritual is performed wrongly, it may cause consequences either on the health of the individual, family, or community. They believe that the passing of the ritual requires a thorough understanding, and that the strictness of the elders in passing the ritual makes it more difficult for them to continue the practice. And because of this, many are not able to know how to practice the ritual given the strictness of the elders. The younger generations tend to develop that ustuat thinking when they let the elders be and choose not to learn this ritual. They say ustuot or that's already enough. Let's just stop this. That's their mindset nowadays. In addition, one informant said that the ritual process and prayer is not easy to pass, for it is really hard to teach, and the children already do not know what our ancestors had been doing, and they do not actually acknowledge it or respect it. There is a belief that when a spirit of the dead kakading will see that there are lacking parts of the ritual performed, they might inflict sickness, harm, or misfortune to the people. So in that way, they have that feeling of fear among them. And lastly, the expensive cost of materials. Nowadays, the practice of community contribution is not being observed. There's no unity or cooperation in some instances. Before, they used to butcher pigs using the money raised by the locals. They used to collect contributions from house to house, and each family will contribute the same exact amount. But now, with the expensive cost of materials, people choose not to do it anymore due to financial instability. There were also times when they resorted to other alternatives such as butchering chickens because pigs are really expensive. And once you fail to meet the required things in the ritual or the standards, you have to redo everything from the start, which is not really convenient and budget friendly.
Thank you, Sir Rafi, for presenting us the challenges faced by the ritual Pakde. Now we proceed to the alternative approaches performed by the community members of the Buguias Benguet to preserve and sustain Pakde in their local community. First is the integration of cultural rituals in the school curriculum and activities, where most respondents claim that the school institutions played important role in the information dissemination of the cultural rituals and practices to the younger generations. From the school activities such as research, cultural dances, and song competitions. This shows that the school indeed serves as the medium in the transmission of cultural knowledge, systems, and practices from one generation to another at present. It serves as the agent for the re-implementation of Pakde in the community.
Second is the story sharing by elders and inviting knowledgeable local priests to initiate the practice. From the data gathered, it shows that the successful transmission of Pakde roots from the stories of the elders. For the story sharing, it will always remind the true identity of the locals according to Avance 2020. This should be the opportunity to the elders to introduce their roots to the younger generations. Then financial supports from the local government unit and the community members. The data shows that the prevention of the ritual is because of the increase in economic goods and commodities, hence hindering its performance because materials are already unaffordable. However, the local government unit was able to help in the monetary donations and any other kind of help in hand with the local communities who believes in the ritual. Thus, it fosters the continuity of the ritual in the locality and practicality as an alternative practice. It is because the ritual is already unapplicable with the effects of modernization, decreasing population of knowledgeable elders, abiding and observance of ritual taboo, leading to few knowledgeable individuals about the ritual and the influence of Christianity. The community then resorts to the alternative rituals such as awil, a ritual offered for the people who died unnaturally or in bad condition with the belief that their spirits will not invite others and stop continuous death. Also, the salipudong, a ritual performed after the burial to stop consecutive deaths. It is celebrated only by the family member of the deceased. Also, they modify the materials used. Instead of butchering pigs, they resort to chicken, which is more practical. Lastly, the discontinuation of the ritual, wherein most of the respondents are in favor of the discontinuation of the ritual because of financial problems and the impracticality of the ritual nowadays due to the rising cost of materials and social changes. These are the 5 alternative approaches performed by the community members of the Buguias Benguet to preserve and sustain Pakde in their local community.
We will now proceed to the conclusions and recommendations. For our conclusions, we have formulated 2. First, the practice of Pakde faced challenges for various reasons that influence most of the community members to stop the practice. As mentioned earlier, the challenges include the decreasing population of the knowledgeable elders, the influence of Christianity, and the lack of interest among younger generations. Due to these challenges, the present generations of the community were unable to continuously practice the ritual. It has caused them to shift to new beliefs and adopt the changes in their community. These changes have hindered the practice of the ritual, which caused it to be considered vanishing. And then we have the second conclusion. The community's alternatives and suggestions to put Pakde into practice include story sharing, integration of cultural rituals in the school curriculum, financial support from the local government unit and the community members, and practicality as an alternative approach. Despite the changes experienced in the society of Buguias, most of the respondents were still able to provide and practice alternatives on how the ritual Pakde can be saved from total oblivion. The result of the study shows that there is still a chance to revive the ritual with the cooperation of every institution in the community. However, some of the respondents favor discontinuing the practice because they see it as a ritual that is not appropriate in today's time. So, in summary, the level of attachment among community members towards the practice of the Pakde varies. Some still practice the ritual through alternatives and are willing to revive it. On the other hand, some chose to stop and distance themselves from the practice considering the factors and challenges integrated in it. There.
Moving forward to our recommendations, here's our recommendation number 1. To ensure continuous practice, Indigenous Peoples Education, also known as IPED, is one of the things the Department of Education may focus on. This is to preserve the values from the rituals and practices through the integration of it in the education of the children. Well, here in this recommendation, we are suggesting the strengthening of the integration of cultures in school curriculums. Like what the interviewee said about the alternative response of the schools in Buguias, Benguet regarding the vanishing ritual Pakde. This includes creating um, learning materials, be it written, digitalized, videos such as documentaries and the likes. This is not only to have records or documented evidence, but also to call the attention of the students about what they're missing in their culture. Next, for our recommendation number two, we all know that social awareness and recognition are important keys to bringing back to life some of the forgotten cultures. That's why we highly recommend that the local government units or the LGUs and the agencies such as the National Commission for Culture and the Arts of the Philippines to get in touch with the localities. In this way, rituals like Pakde may be featured in their awareness program. This recommendation is not only about asking for funding, but also for the full support of the local government unit and the mentioned agency or any other concerned agency. They are recommended to conduct more engaging programs, projects regarding the different cultural rituals or practices, including Pakde, not only for the recognition of the local community, but also to spread social awareness about the rich culture here in the Philippines. Last but not the least, for our recommendation number three, our study provides valuable insights and information that can be useful on future research. And on the basis of the work done during this study, we recommend that the future researchers should conduct further research on the community's indigenous rituals and practices, specifically the process in performing pakde, and also the rules and regulations observed during the conduct of the ritual. The future researchers can get a wider scope of study through gathering data or information from other places that performs pakde, such as Bakulungan Sur or any other barangays and municipalities around Buguias, Benguet. Aside from that, they can also increase the number of respondents or interview more informants, as we had only interviewed 30. We also recommend for them to create documentaries or any output-based project. And the last, we also recommend for them to schedule their data gathering around the season when the ritual pakde is actually performed. Here are our references for the whole study. Thank you for listening.